Through the seasons, may I walk in peace. May I walk in peace. On this path, may I walk through my life. May I walk in old age. May I walk in peace. May I walk in peace. May I walk, 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 may I walk in peace. May I walk in peace, in joy. May I walk in love. May I walk in gratitude. May I walk in peace. May I walk in peace, in stillness. May I walk in forgiveness. May I walk in loving kindness. May I walk in peace. May I walk in peace. May I walk, 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 may I walk in peace. May I walk in peace. May I walk in peace. May I walk in peace now. May you walk, always walk in peace. May we walk in peace. May I walk with loving kindness, in love. May you walk in joy, in peace, in love. May we walk.
Celebration Center for Spiritual Living, and welcome to another amazing Sunday service. So, you might be noticing that I am not in the sanctuary this morning. Well, I woke up this morning feeling a little bit wonky, and I traveled last week, and so I was around a lot of people, and I decided to just not take a chance. And the beautiful thing about having a hybrid service is that when we don't feel well, we can stay home and still be a part of the church service. And that includes all of us. And so I am joining y'all from home this morning. Rev Ryan is doing the tech in the other room. And then in the sanctuary, we also have Ivor running tech. We have Jen Fay as our practitioner on platform. Yay, Jen. And we have Lynn Hollyfield as our music director. Yay, Lynn. And if you don't know who I am, I'm Reverend Chris Ashley. I'm the senior minister here at Celebration Center for Spiritual Living. And I am so glad you're here, whether you're here in the room, not with me, but with other people, or you're joining us online just like I am. You are a valued member of this community, and I am so grateful for your presence today. So we are beginning a new month this month. We are talking about nature, and this topic is really, I'm so excited to dive into this with y'all and to see where we end up together. So stay tuned for an awesome service this morning. If you are online, I invite you to say hello in the chat. Y'all know if you've ever seen me in person, I always have my computer in front of me and I'm always typing away to the people in the chat. But now today I'm sitting directly in front of my computer the whole time, and I'll be able to see your comments and respond to them throughout the service. So please say good morning in the chat if you're joining us online. If you are joining us in person, I invite you to silence your cell phones, but go ahead and keep them on. And if you want to participate in the chat, go to one of our platforms, Facebook or YouTube, and put your thoughts and comments in the chat as well. And if you are joining us for the first time, whether you are in person or online, I invite you, let's see if it's, yes, I invite you to scan this QR code right here by my head, or you can also go to the link right there, and that is going to take you to a welcome form that you can fill out so that we can gather all of your information and find out how we can best serve you and be an integral part of your community. And welcome, we're so glad that you're here. You can also, if you are in the room, there are guest cards on the table to your left, and you're welcome to fill one of those out as well. I have several announcements this morning. The first is that Lutheran Social Services, so last month we finished up with what we were bringing last month. This month they are asking for baby diapers, specifically diapers 4, 5, and 6, diaper sizes 4, 5, and 6. So go to the store, and when you're buying your groceries and everything, pick up a box of diapers for somebody who could use the support and help. I have to admit, when I saw that they were looking for diapers, I got excited. It's been a solid 13 years since I had to buy a box of diapers, and it'll definitely bring back some memories for me when I go to the store and pick up those diapers. Also, we're still looking for somebody who's interested in dropping those items off each month at the end of the month / beginning of the month to Lutheran Social Services. It's only about 3 miles from the center. So if you're interested in doing that, feel free to reach out to me at revchris@celebrationcenter.org. Also, we have another art class with Miriam Catellis. If y'all remember, we did this a couple of months ago. We created individual sand mandalas that have been up on the bulletin board. How cool were they? Well, this month on August 18th, Thursday, August 18th at from 6:30 to 8, we are doing a giant group sand mandala. How cool is that? So you're going to want to be there. It doesn't matter if you came last time. It doesn't matter if you know what you're doing. Just show up. Miriam's going to teach us everything that we need to know. And I'm super, super excited to be a part of this class. You can go online to register. It is $25. That includes all of the materials and fees and everything like that. And the proceeds come back to Celebration Center. So this is a really great way to come together in community and give back in the community. Also, last week, Janine talked to us about the reorganization of the physical space and how this is kind of a phase 2 of our move up to the sanctuary. I know that happened quite some time ago, but with the pandemic, everything kind of got shifted around a little bit differently, and we never got to that phase 2. So if you're interested in supporting us in that phase 2, I invite you once again to reach out to me, Rev Chris at celebrationcenter.org, or you can go to our website, and under our community is a link called Volunteers. If you click on that link, you can sign up to be a volunteer for our community. Now, that includes this reorganization project, but it also includes being a greeter or welcoming or hospitality or any special events or anything like that. So I invite you to go ahead and sign up to be a volunteer. Let us know if you're interested in that reorganization. And also if you're interested in helping out on a more regular basis as well. And finally, we are still doing Flat Ernest, and I'm looking around. Flat Ernest is not here in the room with me, but we have had all kinds of amazing pictures. Flat Ernest has been going all over the place. He was at a concert last night. He has been to the Mini Cooper events and just all over the place. He's been out to Oregon. He's been up in New York. Just really cool. So I invite you, if you have not gotten a chance to participate with your Flat Ernest yet, to send us your pictures, and I can't wait to see them all. Oh, Flat Ernest is on the lectern. That's why he's not here with me, because he's there with y'all if you're in person. So with all of that, I invite you to join me in welcoming Lynn for an opening song.
Yay. Good morning, everyone. We're going to be doing this as our opener song this month, and it's a beautiful song by Peter Mayer, Blue Boat Home. And I think we have the lyrics. I hope we do. And so try to sing along. The melody's familiar to me somehow, so here we go. Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor nor port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred loving souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in a beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Lynn. Wow. Just perfect piece of music to usher in this wonderful time of peacefulness. And so as we enter this sacred time in the service, let us remember our powerful vision together. We are celebrating spirit within and knowing the oneness of humanity. Yes, we are. And so I invite you to close your eyes or soften your gaze and just feel how the surface beneath your body supports you, the chair, the floor. Just relaxing into that surface as you breathe into your heart center. There is energy of love and light expanding because of your simple focus on the heart. This positive, spiritual energy radiates out from you into the world. Let's amplify that radiance with some conscious breathing. Each breath has 3 parts: an inhale, a pause, and an exhale. So joining with me, inhale, pause, exhale. Inhale, pause, exhale. One more. Inhale, pause, exhale. We take a moment to continue experiencing this inner light essence that is shining out from each heart. And then connect with the essence of everyone else's heart. These members of our beloved community that are right here, present in the room, those online, and even those who will watch this service later. We are connected. I invite you to just stay in that sweet spot you're in. My reading today comes from Richard Rohr, a Franciscan priest. He writes, what Ken Wilber calls pre-rational describes an earlier, simpler consciousness that knows reality intuitively and immediately, without many mental filters. Simply by observing the natural world, the sky, animals, trees, water, the changing of seasons, the lightness, the darkness. People knew they belonged to something bigger. And even better, they saw an enchanted universe where everything had its place. How many times do we feel out of place? Or that we just don't belong? So-called primitive peoples knew they belonged by listening, observing, living as part of the natural world. They paid close attention to the natural cycles, darkness and light, growth and death, winter and spring. These cycles are always present. They can be our greatest teachers. So prior to the invention of the written word, people found their spiritual life through all of the natural world, the creatures, the seasons, the cycles. This makes nature a universal religion that precedes all later religions. And so we move into prayer. It is from this awareness of the power of nature to reveal something greater that I'm grateful. It is from this awareness that nature can speak to us as spirit speaks to us through the hues and the light, through the animals that show up, through the wind that soothes and the sound of the surf that takes us into a meditative state. Nature truly is Spirit's grandest expression, perhaps. And we, as part of nature, are part of that grandness, part of the wonder. And so as we breathe into this space, our heart space, our space where we are present in this moment, the room we're in, the air we're breathing is nature. We may feel away from nature inside our buildings, but so much of what is made of a building is of nature. And so we have that connection, and we feel it even more powerfully when we are out in the woods, on the beach, in the mountains, by a lake, by a river. Those places where we find that peace so easily, so naturally, and that connection to a deep part of who we are. We find that truth, that spiritual essence that is all around us and within us. And so I release these words and ideas into that law that responds, that mirrors back what we believe. And as we believe there is great power in this natural world, we see it easily, without effort. And it speaks to us in feelings of love and light and joy and beauty and wonder and mystery as a blessing. And so it is.
Thank you, Jen. I'm going to do a song about the season that we're in right now. According to traditional Chinese medicine, we have 5 seasons, and right now we are in late summertime, and how much we're a part of those seasons and how our bodies are reflected in those seasons. So this is called late summertime. Way the sun is in the sky, crickets humming in time. You see the leaves begin to die. We're in late summertime. The season reaps what we have sown. The earth readies for the cold. And autumn often comes to mind in this late summertime. Daylight slowly shortens now, and more than half the year is done. And on this perfect day I find I'm lost in late summertime. Shadows cast a longer view. Cooler nights are welcome too. Flowers start to bide their time. They know it's late summertime. A hint of fall is in the air. Winter's hiding, still time to spare. And spring just seems so far behind. In this late summertime, daylight slowly shortens now, and more than half the year is done. And on this perfect day I find I'm lost in late summertime. And on this perfect day I find I'm lost in late summertime.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lynn. And thank you, Jen. And thank you, everyone there, for holding down the fort while I'm here at home. And so this morning, I want to begin with some Ernest Holmes. And so I have a quote for us today. Ernest Holmes says, I am guided by the same intelligence and inspired by the same imagination, which scatters the moonbeams across the waves and holds the forces of nature in its grasp. Yes, 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 Ernest. And I think that understanding that we are not separate from nature, that understanding is where we are headed this month. And there is a term for this understanding. There's a term that we're going to be exploring together, and it is ecological consciousness. I am reading a book, and a lot of what I'm going to be talking to y'all about this month comes from this book called Developing Ecological Consciousness by Christopher Uhl, UHL, if you go to look it up. This book is absolutely incredible. My mind is blown every single time I turn the page. And so first, before we begin, we have to define what ecological consciousness is. Now, there's ecological awareness, and there's also ecological consciousness. So awareness, I think, is something that a lot of us have a pretty good grasp on. It's the way that we're taught in schools, the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle, this sort of understanding of ecology and the earth and the cycles. And we learn about the water cycle, right? And we learn about animals, and we study different biospheres and different ecological areas. And I can tell you some of the animals that live in the desert and some of the animals that live in the jungle and things like that. So this awareness of ecology. But ecological consciousness is something else. And that's where we're headed this month. And that's where I think that what Ernest was alluding to in that quote, this deeper understanding. So ecological consciousness is a way of being. It is not only about becoming better educated about our world, but it's a different way of approaching, perceiving, experiencing, and interacting with the natural world. Approaching, perceiving, experiencing, and interacting. And this book, Developing Ecological Consciousness, it really takes us there. So for this first week, we're just going to be looking at the universe and what our place in it is. So Thomas Berry says that indigenous peoples live in a universe, in a cosmological order, whereas we, the people of the industrial world, no longer live in the universe. We live in North America. We live in a political world, a nation, a business world, an economic order, a Disney dreamland, a cultural tradition. So what does that mean, that we don't live in a universe? And Christopher Uhl talks about this, and what he talks about is if you don't have an awareness of your place in the natural world and of your place in the universe, can you really feel like, or are you really a part of the universe? Or are you simply just going through the motions or living your day-to-day, everyday life? Well, this is the question that I've been pondering is, do I live in the universe? Am I conscious and aware of the fact that I live in the universe? And I think that often, a lot of times, the answer is no, that I'm just so busy going about my day-to-day life and getting things done, and what are the errands and what are the order that things have to be done in, and what's on my to-do list today, that I forget that I am an integral part and piece and essence of this universe. And so this idea of developing ecological consciousness is this understanding, this return to the universe as our home, not this house, not this country or this city or this community even, but the universe. The universe is our home. And so I think where I'd love to go today, because I think that this is so fascinating, I'd love to start at the beginning. I would love to start at the start of our home. And so we've all heard of the Big Bang, right? And I did a little bit of research on the Big Bang. And what's really interesting about this is that it's a misnomer that it was a bang. We have this idea that, boom, there was this massive explosion, and then everything came into existence, right? And yet, what's interesting is that when the theory of the Big Bang was being developed, one of its somebody who didn't believe in it actually called it the Big Bang as a kind of a joke, as a this is a ridiculous thing, and the name stuck because the theory stuck. But really, and the way that I prefer to look at it is, it's a big bloom. And the Big Bang is still happening. We are still, as a universe, blooming into existence. Now, do you know how I know that? Back in 1964, there were two radio astronomers, Robert Wilson and Arno Penzias, and they were fiddling around with this antenna that they got their hands on. So it was antenna that was supposed to be used to transmit radio waves long distances across the planet, but it quickly became obsolete within just a few years, and it was handed over to these radio astronomers to do experiments with. Now, they needed a completely clear field to do the experiments. They needed no static, nothing. And they kept getting this static in their transmissions and could not figure out what it was. They tried everything. They pointed it at New York City to see if maybe it was the static of the city. No, it wasn't that. They cleaned the whole thing out. They even removed some pigeons that were living in the antenna itself. Nope, the static is still there. They're pointing it all over the place. They're trying to figure out, where is it coming from? And they finally realized that what they were hearing was the sound of the Big Bang. They were literally hearing the cosmic microwave background radiation, CMBs, of the ancient light that began emanating at the beginning of the Big Bang. And so we think that the Big Bang is this thing that just happened in the past. Bang, everything's into existence, and now here we are as a universe. But that's not what's happening. Instead, we are blooming in this ever unfolding evolution of the universe. The Big Bang is still banging to this day, and we can actually hear the sounds that is being emitted from the original big bloom, Big Bang, whatever you want to call it, the beginning of this universe. How cool is that? And so at the beginning, at whatever the start was, the initial bloom, the initial bang, whatever you want to call it, that the only thing that existed were elementary particles like Higgs boson, quarks, leptons, all of that. And then they morphed into protons and neutrons, which immediately began bonding into stable relationships. So in that one instant of the creation of the universe, what happened was that these quarks, these tiny elementary particles, immediately bonded together into protons and neutrons, and all of a sudden we had hydrogen. And the hydrogen, all of the hydrogen in the entire universe today, right now, was also there, already existing at the beginning of the universe. The very hydrogen that is in our bodies, the hydrogen that is at the start of in every glass of water that we drink, is the same hydrogen that existed at the start of the universe. And so, if you remember a couple of weeks ago, I showed you some pictures of galaxies from the new James Webb Telescope, and I said, these are your baby pictures. I meant that literally, that in looking at these stars, looking into the past, which is what these telescopes do, they are showing us light from billions of years ago, that we are literally looking at the stars that died and created the complex atoms and molecules of carbon and hydrogen and all of that that eventually became us, that we are literally stardust. And not only are we stardust, but everything else is stardust as well. And we like to think that there's there's nature and right there's the natural world, and then there's the not the unnatural world. But the reality is that it's all the natural world, that everything that is in existence today, whether it is the ring light that is shining down on me or the squirrels that play out in my yard, that we are all existing from these atoms and molecules that were birthed from the dying of stars, that all of us have within our very being the hydrogen that existed at the beginning of time. And so when we talk about this idea of ecological consciousness, it's becoming aware of our roots and being so deeply embedded in them that then we look out into the world, we have a different viewpoint, that we're no longer looking out at nature or the universe, but we are looking with the eyes of the universe. We are truly the universe looking at and observing itself. The universe as humanity, the universe as one another, the universe as the grass, the universe as the sun, the universe as the technology. That all of these things are expressing this experience of being a universe. How cool is that? And so what we know and what we can look at when we look at this universe is that the whole entire thing is rooted in relationship. That even at the very beginning, when everything bloomed into existence and those elementary particles were just there, that immediately they started bonding together and pairing together and becoming these stable relationships. That hydrogen is one proton and one neutron, the most basic fundamental element that makes up this entire universe, that makes up all of us, is in itself a relationship. And that, it sounds cool, it's pretty, it's poetic, but it's actually, when we really get down to it, it is mind-blowing. In this book, in developing ecological consciousness, Christopher Ohl poses some questions about the creator that would create a universe that is founded in relationship, with relationship at the heart and the core of everything that happens. And now you don't have to believe in a God out in the sky. In fact, Christopher Ohl says that what we can know from looking at the universe is that God is not a being. It is an action or a process. And isn't that what we teach in Science of Mind? That God, that in this idea of oneness, when we speak about God, when we use these terms like God and spirit and things like that, that what we are really alluding to is the ever evolving action and process of the universe and the multiverse expanding and knowing itself as us, in us, and through us, that we are the individualized expression of that action, of that process. And so if we look at God as process, and then we look at God as creator, what Christopher Ohl asks is, What kind of creator would place coupling and relationship at the center of the universe? What kind of creator would design a universe that is wondrous and mysterious beyond our wildest imaginings, that is, to our eyes, both imperceptibly large and imperceptibly small, all in the same moment, in the same breath? What kind of creator would fashion a universe where destruction leads to rebirth and transformation? What kind of creator would manifest a universe that is not fixed or static, but dynamic in a constant and active process of moving towards more complexity, greater diversity, and more intimacy? What kind of creator would do that? And what we can know when we ask these questions is that this creator is not a being, but instead a process in and of itself. And we can look at these questions and we can say, this creator, this process is playful, it is generative, it is loving, it is creative, it is spontaneous, it is whimsical, it is wise, it is benevolent, it is good. All of these words and ideas that we place and that we say are God are in fact the universe. It is nature as this process, as this God stuff, as this creator that is showing up as itself ever and forever in process and action. And so if it's all one, then we are also that. We are also this process. We are also this unfolding, this action. And so is the universe. The universe is not a thing. The universe is not a place. It is a process of becoming, a dazzling unfolding. We are processes of becoming, living in a process of becoming that was created by a process of becoming. In this beautiful fractal experience of understanding that the microcosm, the smallest, mirrors the image of the macrocosm, the largest. That we are that unfolding that is mirroring the unfolding of the entire universe, that is mirroring the unfolding of the multiverse, that is mirroring the unfolding of whatever it is that is beyond that. Yes. And so if we go back to this idea of relationship, if we go back to this idea of this universe is founded on the understanding the very need for relationship, then let's look at our relationship to the sun just for a minute. Now, the sun has been sunning, it's been burning for almost 5 billion years. And scientists say that we are about halfway through its lifespan. So it has about 5 billion more years, 5 billion more years of burning before its lifespan is complete and it dies and blooms into all of those ever unfolding particles and molecules, so that in 5 billion years, those beings, whatever the universe looks like then, will be made from the star stuff of our sun. So the sun is about 5 billion years old. And what is it, the heat and the energy and the light that it gives off is from this process of protons smashing together and protons forming and joining, right? And so in this process, in this explosion at the center of the sun, about 1% of the mass of the protons is lost to heat and light and energy. And every second, 8 billion pounds of proton mass is lost by the sun. 8 billion pounds every single second. Every second. And it explodes outward in all directions, right? And on its journey out, one of the places that it hits is the earth. And so the amount of all of that 8 billion pounds of mass that reaches the earth is 5 pounds. Every single second, 5 pounds of the sun's mass reaches the earth. And in that heat, in that light, in that energy is how there is life. The sun continually and forever giving to the earth in this beautiful and divine relationship. The earth would not exist without the sun, and the sun is not complete without the earth. And every single second, the sun gives 5 pounds of itself to this planet. Now, 5 pounds, you might be thinking, that's not a whole lot for this entire planet. However, when you do all of the equations with A equals mc squared, what we know is that the amount that reaches the earth in 1 hour from the sun is more than we use in fossil fuels in an entire year. That is the energy of the sun. And so if we look at this relationship, what we know and what Christopher Ull says is a forerunner of human generosity is stellar generosity. Now, one of the things that Reverend Barbara Waterhouse used to say all the time, and that I believe so wholly and so deeply, is you cannot outgive the universe. That we can be wildly generous with ourselves, wildly generous with our time and our talents and our treasures and all of it, because we cannot outgive the universe. And that is proof in the stellar generosity of our sun that every single second is giving 5 pounds of itself to us so that we can live, we can exist, we can be. And so, as we explore this idea of ecological consciousness, the first thing that we get to do is move our mindset out from being in a city or a state or a nation or these political divided lines, or even in a business or a house, and think outside and grow and expand our consciousness to understand that we truly are nature. Happening, experiencing, processing, acting in every second, every word, every breath, every thought. And so I'm going to ask you a question now, and I want you to think about the answer over this coming week. We're going to do a tell us next week when I'm back in the center. And I have 2 questions for you. The first question is, when I ask you, where is the universe? Where do you immediately want to point? Do you want to point out there, up into the sky, somewhere else, the universe out there? Or do you want to point at the universe as the earth, maybe pointing down? Or do you point at yourself, knowing that the universe is each and every one of us? Now, all of these answers are right and incomplete, that it includes all of these things, right? But just notice where your mind automatically goes. Does it go to yourself first, or does it want to point away from yourself to some other place out there, rather than having this inherent deep connection to the earth, and this deep inherent connection to the universe? And then my question that I'm going to ask next week is, what is your relationship to nature? So now, understanding and knowing this deep connection, this process of the universe as ourselves, what is your relationship to the universe as nature? So think about it this week. Just begin to notice. Notice how much you do notice or don't notice the nature around you. And next week, we'll be talking even more about that. Let us pray. So what I know is that Big Bang is forever and ever banging as each and every one of us. that bloom of the universe blossoming into existence is the very act of creation that is forever creating each and every one of us, forever creating our lives. That every breath that I take is the breath of the universe. That every glass of water that we drink, we are drinking stars from the distant, distant past. That as we move through this universe, that we are an intrinsic, connected, expressive piece and part of it. That the universe would not be whole without us. And that if the infinite is to exist as the infinite, it must do so in every point simultaneously. And therefore, we are the universe as the infinite showing up as ourselves. And so I just breathe that in. I allow my mind to expand and grasp just the slightest glimpse of what the universe as infinity as me is. And I look out at all of the relationships of the sun to the earth, of the protons to the neutrons, of myself to my friends and my family. And I express my deep and profound gratitude that this process of creation, founded at the heart of all of creation, relationship. And I expand my mind to develop an ecological consciousness, an awareness that every action of mine affects the planet, affects the solar system, affects the whole entire universe. And I awaken to my place in this world as an integral piece of nature. And so I just give my great gratitude for the universe expressing itself as me, expressing itself as each and every individual in our community, expressing itself as everyone who has ever been touched by Celebration Center in any way, and by everyone on this planet who has ever been on this planet or will ever be on this planet. And so I simply release my word. I let it turn into the stardust that it is and reform into magnificent miracles and blessings that simply pour down into our lives as we say together, and so it is.
Okay, I'm gonna share a song that I wrote about stars. This is called The Night Sky. What if the morning sun warmed every heart and soul? What if the comets brought answers to us all? What if the earth held us tight so we would never fall? Wondering about life and why we're here at all. Speeding through space, though we feel we're standing still, surrounded by ancient light, all the gravity and pull. Are we fools to think we're somehow in control? How did we land here, and why are we here at all? Stars give us light after they're long gone. They brighten up our night, still singing their sweet song. Always gives me comfort to see them in the sky, knowing they're there until all the last goodbyes. We can see the same stars, though we are miles apart. It's like seeing an old friend who lives inside our hearts. In the past, maybe now, the stars have been our guides. You know, I'll sit and wish and watch them till I die. Stars give us light after they're long gone. They brighten up our night, still singing their sweet song. Always gives me comfort to see them in the sky, knowing they're there until all the last goodbyes. Like a tiny grain of sand shimmering in the sun, we're really itty-bitty shining stars. Our work has just begun. Oh, we can light the dark as we go traveling on, so we can still give after we're long gone. So don't miss a chance when you're outside at night. Take a look above you and your heart will fill with light. Nothing's ever constant in our ever-changing lives, except the world above and the night sky. Stars give us light after they're long gone. They brighten up our night, still singing their sweet song. Always gives me comfort to see them in the sky, knowing they're there until all the last goodbyes. Knowing they're there until all the last goodbyes.
Oh, Lynn, you read my mind twice this week. We did not have a chance to talk, and yet that song was just so utterly perfect. Thank you. I loved it. This is the time in our service for our gifts and our offerings. And so I just invite you. You can use the QR code. It is right here, and scan that, and that will take you to our secure website. You can also go to celebrationcenter.org/donate, which will take you to the same place. If you are in the room, we have our basket over on the table to your left. And I am so grateful. Just know that your presence in our community, whether you are joining us online or there in person or watching later, that your very presence is a gift to our community, and we are so grateful for it. And now I would like to invite Jen up to lead us in our offertory affirmation and a prayer.
And so please join me in our offertory affirmation. The gift I give is God in action. I give it in joy. I give it in love. I give it in faith. I give it knowing I'm blessed, and so I gratefully give. And so we bless all the gifts that are given, all of the time and talent, the treasure. And as we consider the gifts and the universe, the principles of the universe that are always expanding, that means all of those gifts are expanding as well. That we have more time to give. We have more treasure to give. We have more talent to share and give. And so this center is blessed abundantly by all of the gifts that we give. And so it is.
And so it is. And now I invite you to repeat after me. Something wonderful is happening through me right now. I am led by spirit. I am guided by wisdom. I am protected by love. I am here to be a blessing. I am so grateful And so it is.
All right, we're going to do our closing song. If you want to stand for this and do hand motions, this is I Send My Love by Karen Drucker. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my joy over the mountains. I send my joy over the sea. I send my joy into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my peace over the mountains. I send my peace over the sea. I send my peace into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send power over the mountains. I send power over the sea. I send my power into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. And it returns to me. And it returns to me.
And so I send us out, understanding and growing our consciousness of ecology and our place in the universe, in nature, in the world, and with one another. And so it is.